Warning, the Renegade Recruiter is not for the soft, timid, or faint-hearted. If you need permission or seek approval from your mother, spouse, mates in the pub, or anyone else for that matter, this really isn't for you. If any of what you've heard puts you off in the slightest, I advise you not to listen any further. You've been warned. Prepare yourself for the no bullshit, zero fluff. Quick, dirty, and uncensored secrets for any serious recruitment, staffing, and search business owner who wants to earn more money with less work and fewer headaches, without having to kiss ass or bend over backwards to please anyone. He's a relentless and fearless renegade who will stop at nothing to reveal the harsh, unforgiving, and brutal truth about what it really takes to succeed in this business. He's a guy people love to hate and hate to love. It's your host, Terry Edwards. The Renegade Recruiter is unleashed.
Hello. This is Terry Edwards, Renegade Recruiter. And welcome to another episode. And of course, we're joined by our co-host, Drew. How are you, Drew?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Terry. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good indeed. And today we're looking at stupid vanity metrics, which is a title that Drew came up with. And just some of the metrics that we often hear when we talk to recruitment and search firm owners. Drew and I talk to recruitment and search firm owners on a daily basis, literally every day of the week, 5 days a week. We're talking to recruitment and search firm owners from around the world. And one of the questions we often ask is, tell us about your business. And then they share some things with us that it takes me all my time actually not to look to heaven sometimes for some of the feedback that we get on that one. Anything you want to add to that, Drew?
Yeah, the reason I was sort of keen to do this episode is because, one thing that I've often heard you say, Terry, is that anything that is measured, what can't be measured can't be managed. And you're always big on knowing your numbers, measuring what's actually working and not working in your business. And I think no one will really argue with that point. You need to measure what's working, what's not working in order to start to decide where you put your energy in order to achieve growth. And I think one of the big mistakes, big problems that I see recruitment and search owners make is that they get the concept of measuring. They just measure the wrong areas. They're sort of calculating the wrong metrics. They're using the wrong metrics to decide whether something is successful or not. So yeah, today I just want to sort of go through, we've picked three of the sort of big ones. Again, this may be something that we continue and do add to as we go along. But three sort of the big vanity metrics that recruitment and search firm owners measure that don't necessarily have an impact on overall performance of the business.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, that's some good points there. So the first one is number of consultants. They make the mistake of bringing in consultant after consultant. When you ask them how they're doing, if you ask them about the business, one of the first numbers they give you is the number of consultants or fee earners that they have, or fee owners, as somebody called it the other day. Because there's this perception that the more fee earners you've got, or consultants, the more your profits. But as we all know, that isn't always the case. Isn't that right, Drew?
Yeah, it is. And I think, again, an example of this that sticks out to me is just the other day when we met up with some of your clients, Terry, and one of them had just achieved a 100% increase in revenue from the previous quarter. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking about, okay, what do you want to do next? And the first thing that came to mind was, okay, I want to bring in more consultants. And it's like, well, you've just achieved 100% increase without any consultants. Perhaps that isn't necessarily what you should be doing next. It's not going to solve your problems. It's not going to help you grow your business because you've been able to do it without them. So, and I think, again, when you initially start up a business, it's one of the things you look at. And I think even people outside the business often, how many people do you employ? It's often a question that you get asked. And the bigger the business, in terms of the bigger the team, they attribute that to, you must be doing well. But again, when you sort of look under the hood of a lot of recruitment and search firms, even the bigger firms who probably revenue-wise are a lot bigger than a lot of the smaller firms, obviously, you'll find that if they have a team of 10, 20, 30 consultants, they've got really 70% or more underperforming. So 70% or more of the consultants underperforming, not actually contributing to revenue and profit. So I think like, rather than the number of consultants, you should be looking at how to get the consultants that you have billing. And if you've got team members at the moment who aren't performing, then the last thing you really should be looking at or thinking about doing is bringing in more. Because, as I said, if only a third of them work out, then it's almost, yeah, you have to bear that in mind when you look for growth. And I've met business owners with teams of 20 who are less profitable than teams where they've got maybe 4 consultants who are actually billing regularly. So again, it's not about the number of consultants that you have. It's about the performance of the team that you have, no matter how big or small. How well are they performing? Does that make sense, Terry?
Yeah, and one of the questions that I ask, because it's something that comes up all the time, and one of the questions I often ask is, what your challenges you're facing right now. And a lot of recruitment and search firms are going to say, finding good consultants. The next question I always ask is that if you're a recruitment and search firm owner, invariably you've been in the industry for some time. You may have worked for some of the bigger recruitment or search firms, or maybe for some of the smaller ones as well. So the next question I always ask is, in your experience, when you worked for other recruitment firms, and including your very own, what percentage of the consultants you bring in actually become profitable for your business or for other business? But here's what's really interesting. When you ask that question, do you know what the average number is, Drew? It's about 30 to 40%. The perception is that 30 to 40% of the consultants that they're seeing being recruited actually turn out to be profitable. Think about that for a minute. That's the number that you get every single time. So most recruitment and search firms at some level acknowledge that the majority of consultants that are brought in will not be successful. That is unbelievable, isn't it? When you look at that, because they say 30-40% will prove to be successful. And I know you and I were talking off air just before this call, and if the average consultant's earning, I don't know, let's call it 3,000 or just over 3,000 or whatever your local currency is a month, in the first quarter it's going to cost you as the owner about 10,000. And in most cases, most consultants aren't going to work out, and they're unlikely to work out in the first quarter. So the cost to you is 10,000. But if you like most recruitment and search firms that we speak to, let's say on the perm side, your profit margins are about 30%. So if you've had a consultant working with you for let's say the first quarter, and that cost you approximately 10,000, for you to make that kind of money would mean that you'd need to bill 30,000. Let me just check in, Drew. Does that make sense? What I've said there in terms of those numbers?
Yeah, it does. I mean, again, depending on your business and your profit margins, you need to look at what it actually takes for you to make a profit. Because again, on paper, again, we've touched on this recently as well, but on paper, if you operate at a third, like a 33% margin, profit margin, then for you to make £3,000 profit, you need to generate £9,000 in revenue, right? That means that on paper, £3,000 saved or not spent is the same as generating 9,000 in revenue. So you need to sort of weigh up which one's easier, which one can you do faster. Is the consultant that you're bringing on actually, or the consultant that you already have in your team, are they actually profitable? And again, just because they're covering their salary, or you might think they're breaking even, it doesn't mean they're profitable.
Yeah, and if you then factor in your time, if you're the owner and you've got to spend time training and coaching those individuals as well, if you factor that in, and the cost of opportunity, so what would it be worth to you if you were to bring in perhaps a higher performing consultant as well? Then you've got the cost of perhaps the job boards and the desk and the phone and everything else, and you start to look at those costs, and you'll soon realize that bringing in another consultant isn't always the best option for growing your business. And I want to be clear about this. I understand the thinking, and when I set up my business, I use this word deliberately. I mentioned it in one of my books. One of my fantasies was, I was going to set up a business, and I was going to then get other consultants to join my business, get them on the phone cold calling, getting them bringing the business. And of course, as the owner of the business, I would take a profit of their success. I would get very rich and live happily ever after. It didn't take long for me to realize that was nothing but a fantasy, because it doesn't work like that. If only it did, if only it was that easy. Obviously, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. But it isn't that easy. And as I said, that one of the biggest challenges recruitment and search firm owners say they're having is finding good consultants. That's a big problem. Finding consultants who can come into your organization and hit the ground running. Finding consultants who can prove to be profitable within the first 6 months. And all the evidence suggests that the majority of the consultants that you recruit will not be profitable, but in fact will end up costing you money. So, as Drew kind of touched on, a bigger team doesn't mean bigger profits. It really doesn't. And the amount of times Drew and I have spoken to recruitment and search firm owners, and it could be a business with just 5 fee earners in the business, and you talk to them, and they're very careful with their sorry, not careful. They know their numbers. And then you talk to another owner who perhaps employs 10 fee earners, and the business that employs 5 fee earners is making more profit. But here's the response you get. When you point it out to the individual that's, say, employing 10 consultants, they will say, oh, yeah, but 3 or 4 of our guys haven't been with us very long, so they haven't really found the feet. They may not have found the feet, but it's still costing you money. That's a fact. Whatever happens, they're still costing you money. And if you go back to the numbers that Drew talked about, in terms of if you're working on the third profit, you need to make 3 times that to get that money back. So it's almost naive to say, yeah, but it's early days yet, and they're still finding the feet, because either way they're still costing money. And let's say after 4 months they don't work out. Sadly, you can't go back to them saying, well, you've been with us 4 months, you've cost me a lot of money, I'd like that money back, because apparently that's frowned upon if you do that to employees for some reason. I'm not sure why, but seriously, you've got to factor this all in, and it's about your profits. So let me be clear, we're not saying, neither of us saying that you don't bring in consultants. Let's be absolutely clear about it. What we are saying, though, is that there are other things that you can be doing to make your business profitable before you start to bring in consultants. If you've got a team of 4 or 5 now, as Drew said, 70% of them, 50% of them may not be profitable right now. One of the things you want to be looking at is getting those underperformers up to scratch and up to speed, and making your business profitable. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, or if you can't get them up to speed, and again, you should have a limit of when that time span is, then managing them out of the business altogether. Yeah.
Which brings me on to another point about that whole thing. Often when we talk to recruitment business owners, I say, if I came to work for you, what would you need to see, hear, or feel to know that I'm a good consultant? What does good look like? Again, this is kind of disturbing. A lot of, probably 30–40% of recruitment search firm owners find it difficult to answer that question. Think about that for a minute. If you don't know what good looks like in terms of a consultant, what chance does your consultant stand of being successful? If you don't know what it is, what you define as being successful, what chance does your consultant have of being successful? So one of the things you've got to be also crystal clear about is exactly what does good look like? What do you need to see, hear, and feel to know undeniably that this particular consultant has been a success? And by the way, if you're just talking, well, if they break even in the first 6 months, I would encourage you to look at those numbers, because they're probably not the right things, probably not the right numbers. But whatever it is, get crystal clear about what good looks like. What do you need to see, hear, and feel to know this is a good consultant? Because the other advantage or the other challenge you got is, why would a top performing consultant, let's say working for your main competitor, or perhaps working for one of the big recruitment or search firms right now, come and work for you? In terms of the money that they're going to earn, there isn't much in it, by the way, unless you're going to substantially increase their commission. Normally there isn't much in it. For a perm recruiter, they will earn approximately a third of what they bill, including their base salary. So why would a top consultant leave wherever they are now and come and join you? And in most cases they won't. If they're a top biller wherever they are, why would they walk away from all of that and literally start from scratch and come and join you on the perm side? If it's the interim, the contract side, what you're saying to them is, yeah, I know you've got a lot of contractors or numbers or runners out right now. I want you to leave all that and come and join us, and leave all that money on the table. And again, it's a big ask, and in most cases, it doesn't happen. So here's what does happen: you end up interviewing, and sadly, in most cases, recruiting underperforming consultants who aren't doing too well wherever they are right now, and they then come and join you. And the reason they come to join you is because they're right to get fired from wherever they are right now. We've seen this again and again and again. One of our clients, I'll just leave it at that. One of our clients shares this. He reckons his underperforming consultants last year cost him £70,000. £70,000 is what it cost him in wages and everything else with underperforming consultants. Think about it for a minute. £70,000. Drew, anything to add to that, buddy?
I know. Again, I think covered that well. What's the sort of second stupid vanity metrics that recruitment and search runners measure, but they aren't necessarily relating to success?
Yeah. So they will talk about their the number of the consultants. The next one they would talk about is their business turnover. Literally every business owner will say, yeah, we employ 10 consultants and we're doing this, and they will give a number. And they all want to increase that number, by the way, which makes sense. Let me just stop there, Drew. Does that make sense when they talk about their business turnover?
Yeah, again, just to add to that, because I know I suppose a lot of recruitment and search managers recently in America, they don't tend to use that phrasing, but we're talking about business revenue, the business turnover, business revenue, how much the business generates in sales, effectively.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, I think it's like, again, similar to consultants, when you sort of ask a recruitment search manager what they want to achieve, it's around the number of consultants they have is sort of often the first thing they say, and also that like the business turnover as well, how much they want to generate as a business, and they all work at increasing that. How do I increase my turnover? And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be trying to increase your turnover. Obviously, yeah, you should. Like, the more turnover you've got, all things being equal, the more profits you make, the more take-home money you'll have for you as owner. But very often, increasing turnover does not necessarily increase profits. So if it doesn't increase profits, then you shouldn't be trying to do it. The focus should be, rather than turnover, which is, again, like a vanity metric. It looks good on paper. It looks good to tell someone, yeah, we turned over £1 million, £2 million, £3 million, dollars, whatever it is. It looks better than saying we turned over £500,000. But really, the only thing that counts is not your turnover, because again, we've met and spoken to 7-figure business owners who obviously do 7 figures, but their profit margins are really small. And actually, again, beneath the hood, beneath the surface, they're struggling. They're struggling to keep the lights on, because although their turnover is high and the number of consultants they have is high, their profit margins are really small. So they've got a bigger struggle than someone with perhaps a smaller business whose turnover looks smaller or is smaller, and on paper it looks like the smaller business, but in actual fact they are more profitable.
You're listening to the Renegade Recruiter Unleashed podcast. For show notes, additional resources, and podcast updates, head over to www.therenegaderecruiter.com.
So rather than focusing on just turnover and making decisions that only increase your turnover, think about it before you do, and think, actually, does this increase in turnover equal an increase in profits as well, together at the same time? Or can I do something that reduces my revenue perhaps, but increases profits? I mean, I remember we worked with, again, these sort of link back to the first metric. We worked with a client not long ago, based in the UK, who had a team of 3. And the first thing he did is he got rid of the underperforming members in his team. So they were billing, but they weren't profitable, right? So he got rid of the underperforming members, and straight away his revenue dropped, which is obvious. So in the first quarter of doing this, his revenue dropped because he didn't have the 2 people that were billing anymore, but his profits were up. When your profits are up, it means you can take more money out of the business. It means not only you're happy, your family are happy as well. You've got more security, and ultimately you've got more freedom, which for most people is what they came into business to achieve in the first place. So rather than just turnover, profits is a real area you should be focused on. And then again, if you want to go beyond that, it's cash flow as well. Again, you've probably heard the saying, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash is reality.
Yeah.
You want to focus on the profit and cash flow, not just the revenue.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody quite recently, and he said, "Ted, we're doing absolutely fine. You know, we're doing $750,000 right now." I said, "Yeah, you are, but you employ 10 consultants, and the numbers that you've given me so far, the next quarter on those numbers, if you keep running those numbers, you're probably not going to make a profit." You know, because he'd share some numbers with me in terms of number of employees, overheads, etc. You know, but all he'd focused on, well, we're doing $750,000 in sales. It wasn't sufficient in terms of the number of consultants that he had right there. But he, again, not uncommon, he'd focused on the turnover rather, as you rightly said, Drew. It's the profits. And the cash in the bank is your actual reality.
Yeah, and again, there may be times where you want to focus on revenue, perhaps if you're looking for investors. But like, I mean, if you look at Amazon, for example, they're not a profitable business, but their revenue is massive, right? But you, as a small business owner, a small recruitment search owner, like, what would you rather have, a big business with all the headaches that come with it, with a big revenue, or the profits, right? For me personally, I'd rather have the profits. So rather than looking at revenue and having your goal set purely on revenue, purely on team size, look at actually how much money do I want to take out of the business? How much profit do I want to make? And again, that's the important thing. And the size of the business doesn't necessarily mean more profit.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this now, you're thinking, yeah, that's great, but now how do we grow our business without bringing in consultants, or how do we increase our profits? If you want some help in any of those, if you go to terryedwards.com/start, you can book a no cost, no obligation telephone meeting, and I'll share with you exactly how to do that. So that's terryedwards.com/start. And I say you can book a telephone meeting, and I'll share with you exactly how to improve the performance of your current consultants, how to increase your profits, literally probably over a 90-day period. There's some real simple things that you can do to increase your profits over a 90-day period, and we'll share with you that on the telephone call. You've got to be the owner or director of the business. That's all we ask, is that you're owner or director of the business, and you're committed to growing your business. That's kind of going without saying as well. Anything to add to that, Drew?
No, again, so you covered number of consultants, business revenue or turnover. What's this sort of third stupid Vanity metric that you're going to be covering today?
Yeah, this one always makes me smile. Like, people say to me, "So I can't talk to you. I'm too busy at the moment." We've got so many jobs orders. The number of job orders we've got on. By the way, these are contingency recruiters. It's one of the most common statements I hear. We're too busy. Or this one, we've got more jobs than we can handle. Let's take a look at that, a closer look at that statement. Here are the facts. The average contingency recruiter will fill between 15 and 30% of the job orders that they're working on. 15 to 30. I have to say, I talked to a guy the other day, his fill rate on contingency was 8%. So look, let's say that your fill rate is 30%. So 30% of the job orders that you get, you fill, which is at the top end, by the way. What that means is, at best, 70% of the time you're working, you and your team are working, you will not get paid. Let me repeat that. Most of the time you're working, you will not get paid as a contingency recruiter if most of the job orders that you get, you don't fill. See, people think having lots of job orders means that you've got money in the bank. There is no evidence to suggest that at all. Before I go on, Drew, anything to add to that?
Yeah, again, I think it's a very valid point. And again, it relates more to people that work on contingency rather than retained. But yeah, like, you hear people talk about the number of job orders they have, and I often refer to them as clients as well. Like, it always makes me laugh. Like, I have no problem winning business. I've got almost too many clients. And in fact, like the worst thing is, I heard I was speaking to someone the other day, and they said this, like, I have no problem getting business. I've got too many clients, so many clients, in fact, that I'm looking to bring in new consultants. And I was like, "Oh, great, the business is going well." And you dig down to numbers. It's like, no, you don't have clients. You've got job orders. You haven't. A job order is not making a sale, right? Unless someone's transferred money into your bank account, you have not made the sale. They are not a client, right? So again, I think you as the owner, but also like your consultants will say as well, "Yeah, well, I'm really busy. I've got all these clients, got all these job orders I'm working on." that does not equal money in the bank. It's not equal profit. It does not even equal revenue. Again, we spoke about revenue, but it doesn't even equal revenue. All it means is that you're working hard. For a lot of the time, you won't get paid. And Terry said, look, the fill rate's about 30%, the industry average. Like, even if the fill rate is 90%, I don't really care what it is. If there's any time that you're working and you're not getting paid, that's wasted time, right? That's wasted time. So rather than measuring the number of job orders, you need to switch to measure actually cash collected. What money's what money have I got coming in the bank? And again, two ways to do this really. One, knowing your numbers in terms of contingency. So knowing that if you get 10 job orders, you're only going to fill 3 of them and being okay with that. Or the better option, the one I prefer, is working on a retained basis. So any client that you work with is paying you upfront for the work that you do. So when you make a sale, when you get a client, it actually equals money in your bank account. You're actually getting paid for it. You actually can attribute it to revenue, attribute it to profits, and then you can decide whether you're ready to bring new consultants in. Because if you're bringing consultants in based on the number of job orders that you've got, again, you could be setting yourself up for failure, because job orders don't mean sales, right? If you're bringing consultants in that you're going to have to pay regardless of whether you fill these job orders, then you're just setting yourself up for potentially a really tough time with cash flow, because you're going to have to pay out the day you bring on a consultant. You have to start paying out, but they don't necessarily bring money in, especially if you work on a contingency, until the role is filled. Does that make sense, Terry?
Yeah, perfect sense. So having a job order doesn't mean that you've got money in the bank. What it means is, by the way, in my opinion, if a client gives you a job order without any commitment of any kind, and they won't even give you on the exclusive. And by the way, I want to be clear here, if you get in on an exclusive, your fill rate increases quite substantially. So it may be 40, 50%, maybe as high as 60, 70%. As Drew said, you could go as high as 90%. But if I said to you, come and work for me, and 10% of the time you're going to work and you're not going to get paid, you're going to go get lost. But if you're working on contingency now, the average contingency recruiter, as I said, 70% of the time they're working on job orders, they will not fill. But for some reason, that seems to be acceptable. And as Drew rightly pointed out, those same business owners will say to you, yeah, we're so busy with all these job orders, I'm going to bring in some more consultants to help me fill these job orders, because 70% of them I'm not filling. Think about that. It's economic suicide. It really is. But here's the thing. Retained recruiters will work less than a contingency recruiter, but will earn more. Because the retained recruiter may only work on 1 job order, may only work on 2 job orders a month, but they get paid up front. So at the very least, they get paid something up front.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Retained recruiters will fill something like 92% of the job orders they work on. Your fill rate of the average contingency recruiter is, in some cases, it's 10%. It's appalling.
Yeah. And I think...
And it's...
Okay, carry on.
No, you carry on, go on.
I was going to say, I think that working on retained, the benefits to you as a business owner are obvious, right? You get paid up front for the work you do. Is obviously, we talked about how cash is sanity, right? Revenues, vanity, profit is sanity, cash is reality, right? So cash flow is very important, and businesses live and die on having a positive cash flow. So getting paid up front would immediately boost your cash flow. So that's one obvious benefit to you. But I think if we look outside of that and think about the clients who are willing to pay you retainer, they're a better quality client. If you've ever been in a situation where a client hasn't returned your calls, you feel like they're not committed to the process, and not fully committed to the process, whatever it is, they're not like the best quality client, working on retainer eliminates that, because you're only working with clients who are fully committed to the process. And when clients fully committed to the process, you're able to deliver a better service. You're able to deliver a better service to the client. When you deliver a better service to the client, they're more likely to keep coming back to you again and again and again. It's a more sustainable business model, rather than you working on contingency. This month you may win the business because you happen to send the right CV at the right time, but next month it's somebody else and it's not you. So it's better to get your commitment from a client, shut out all your competitors, so straight away you've locked in the deal. You've got commitment from the client, so you're working together. It's a partnership. Because you're on this partnership, you're able to deliver more time, more energy. Rather than working on 10 job orders, you're working on 2, and all that time and energy you're able to to dedicate to these two, deliver a better service to the client. You're happy because you got the money up front. The client's happy because they've got a better service. The candidate's obviously happy because you made sure that you've got them the best possible candidate with the best role. Everyone wins. You have a better business for it. But again, just to go back to the original point, measuring the number of job orders that you have does not attribute to your eventual success. And again, it's something we hear a lot. I'm too busy working on job orders that you're not getting paid for. When you sort of verbalize it to a recruitment search manager and they get it, and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. I am not getting paid for the majority of the work I do, or at least some of the work I do. It's about making that change and having the guts to go from saying no, I'm going to walk away from anyone who is not willing to even give me an exclusive at the very least, but ideally pay me a retainer because they're going to be the best clients. They're the ones who I'm able to get the best results for. So, and again, if we sort of be brutally honest about this, it comes down to you and your fear, but it also comes down to how committed are you to getting the best possible results for the clients you work with. Does that make sense, Terry? Because no one will like people always push back against retainers and all exclusive. My clients won't do that. My clients won't be willing to pay that. But the truth is, the reason for that is you're probably not asking. If you are asking, you're not asking the right way. But at the same time, no one's ever been able to say to me that if they did work on retainer and exclusive, they would deliver a better result for the client. They know that. So it's like, don't make it about you. Make it about the client. Are you committed to getting the best possible results for the clients you work with? And again, it's only a question that only you can answer. But if you are, there's a way that you need to do things. And working on exclusive or working on retainer is one of those ways.
Yeah.
Does that make you agree with Terry, or get another thought?
Yeah, very much so. And you brought up 2 points there. If you're listening to this, you're thinking, yeah, but my market's different, so they won't pay a retainer. As Drew rightly said, one of the reasons you're not getting the retainer right now is you're probably not asking for it. And did you know that there are 4 questions you're going to ask a client once you identify they have a need for what you're offering that will ensure that you'll win more retainers. And by the way, you've got to know those four questions. If you ask those 4 questions, you will work on more retainers. And you're right, by the way, most of your clients will not pay you a retainer. Let's be absolutely clear. But you don't need, not say clients, most prospects won't pay you a retainer. But you only need, if only 2 clients a month are paying you a retainer, and by the way, they are now clients because there's money's been exchanged. Yeah, they actually pay you. You're going to be better off. The other one we get is, yeah, but Terry, my market's candidate driven, and it's not going to work. Let's just think about that for a minute. If you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, yeah, but my market's candidate driven, here's what I'm going to say to you: rub your hands in glee. Let me just give you a very quick economic lesson, and it's an economic lesson of supply and demand, and it's one of the most fundamental concepts of economics, and it's the backbone of the market economy. And that's the relationship between price and quantity demanded, known as demand relationship. So demand creates competition, because once a skill or experience has been identified as having a high demand, every organization will have to pay a premium to get those skills or experience. So if you're operating in the market where there's a shortage of good candidates, you really should be rubbing your hands in glee. Because a hiring manager can't say to you, yes, there is a shortage of good candidates in this market, and I'm only going to pay you 10%. Because you're going to look at them and think, well, what do you want me to do? You're going to pay me 10%. Your competitors are going to, because there's a shortage of candidates, going to pay a higher fee. They want to work on the retainer because they're serious about this. What are you going to do? I want to be clear about this. If there's a shortage of candidates in your area, even more reason to be 2 things: to be working on retainer and to be charging a higher fee.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, logical sense, for a client to say, yes, there is a shortage, but I'm going to pay you less. This thing about being too busy and I've got more job orders, you need to look at that. You need to look at the percentage of job orders that you actually feel that you're working on contingency. And if it is, in most cases, most of the job orders that you're working on, you're not filling. It means that a lot of the time you're working, and you're never going to get paid. And then we talked about a candidate-driven market. And if you're working in a candidate-driven market, if you're working in a market with a shortage of good candidates, what I was saying was that the client can't say to the shortage of good candidates, so I'm going to pay you less, because the law of supply and demand actually dictates the opposite. If there's a shortage of good candidates, the client's got to pay you more because there's a shortage. It really is that simple economic law. Anything to add to that, Drew?
No, again, I think you covered it well. As Terry said before, if you want to know more about this, you want to know what metrics you should be measuring in your business and how to measure them, and make sure you go to terryedwards.com/apply and book a free call with Terry or one of his team, and again, will help you go through all of this, help you find what metrics you measure in your business, help you, again, attract more clients and increase your business profits, not just the revenue.
Yeah, so that's terryedwards.com/start and book a no cost, no obligation telephone meeting. All we ask is that you're the owner, director, or decision maker. And if there are more than one decision maker in the business, get everybody in on the call. But we'll share with you how to increase your sales without recruiting more consultants. We'll share with you how to increase your profits as well. We'll share some real simple things. There's 3 things you can do that will increase your profits pretty quickly. We'll share with you how to work less and earn more by working either on winning more exclusive business, working on retainers, or how to position yourself so you can charge higher fees if you're working in a candidate-driven market. I said there's no cost for the meeting, there's no obligation. All we ask is that you own the director and you're totally committed to growing your business. That's all we ask is you've got those things. Go to terryedwards.com/start and book a telephone meeting with either me or one of the members of our team. Thank you very much for that, Drew. Very much appreciated. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Yeah? Okay. This is Terry Edwards and Drew Edwards. Until next time, take care, take action, and be relentless.